Good morning, everybody. Like I said, I see there's only a couple of us on right now. More people hopefully will join on, but if not, this is being recorded for you to watch. Um, so today we have a something unique I don't think we've really talked about in the mortgage industry, but we see it day in, day out. We see a lot of people, client-wise, that come to us, and one of the biggest factors we face with them is debt to income. And one of the big contributors to that is the student loans. One of the things that Pam has discovered is through Dave Danielson and Melissa McGuire here from Student Debt Solutions, they have a program that helps us maybe reduce those student debt liabilities, maybe forgive them. And you're going to hear more of what their system can actually do for your clients. So one of the big things is as we face clients that are running into debt to income issues, being on the proper payment plans, you're going to hear a lot of that to really understand how can this system, let me call it, really help our clients possibly qualify for a mortgage. So again, I'm going to introduce Dave. Dave is the CEO of eFiscal Networks. He is going to start off with us today on explaining what SDS is, what it does, and then it's going to follow up with Melissa giving us a demo and filling us in a little bit more. In between, I'm going to kind of give you a point of view of what a loan originator sees with using this program. How do we use it day in, day out, and how can we apply it? So Dave, go ahead and start.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for taking the time to join. Let me share my screen here. Melissa and I have a couple of slides that we want to go through. Let's see, bear with me a moment. And there we go. Daniel, are we sharing my intro slide?
We see it. Yes, sir.
Very good. So again, I'm the CEO of a company called Resolvent. Our product is called Student Debt Solutions, or we often shorten it to just SDS. So you'll hear us say SDS and Student Debt Solutions kind of interchangeably. Um, Melissa has actually many hats, but I summarized the two biggest ones. She's an expert counselor, and I'll let Melissa. You'll hear from Melissa as we go through the deck here, but the important thing about what we're doing is we're trying to make it possible for consumers, your clients, to resolve or find some resolution or reduction in payments, improving their debt to income ratio, but doing that on their own. Student loans are a complicated set of issues, and there's a lot of rules and regulations. Part of the reason that we're way ahead of the crowd and have a very unique solution is because Melissa has been taking her expertise as a counselor over the last decade and essentially helping us in the software put the kind of decisions and analysis that a counselor would go through into the software itself, so that by adding a very easy to use user interface that you'll see in the demo, a consumer, your clients, can actually help themselves and work through it, and you don't have to necessarily be a student loan expert. So what we wanted to show you today is the product, how it works, why it's important, and hopefully give you some confidence that you can refer people to our program, and not really have to worry about, they're going to come back to you with a bunch of questions that you're not prepared for. We know how to handle that, and we can actually support them through our counselors as well, but you'll see that they'll be able to handle a lot of this on their own. So let me touch on a couple of slides here, and I'll hand off to Melissa in just a moment. So again, about Student Debt Solutions, I'm not going to read everything here, but essentially we consider ourselves unique. We're unique in that we're one of the rare solutions that really doesn't require an expert counselor to guide the person through it. We've put the expertise in the software, and we've made it easy enough for people to use on their own. And we think that that's important. It's important for us to keep the price very low, and it's also important for us to allow a larger and larger group of people to use the software, therefore getting benefits to more people. The reason that Daniel and Pam and I and Melissa got to know each other is that we're also integrated in a piece of software called HomePrep that you'll be hearing more about in the coming weeks. And as a broker, you might be using that software to help your clients through and Daniel's more of an expert on that than I am. But you might be using that software. Well, we're integrated into that software, so you can easily access us there. And by the end of the presentation, I'll be sharing with you how you can access it directly. You don't have to get to us through the HomePrep software. But if you like what we're doing and you think that this is valuable for your clients, then you'll be able to access us through a link that we're going to share later in this demonstration, or by using the HomePrep software. Same software, just two different ways of accessing it depending on where you're at. And we're here to help you. So if you have any questions, you can always send an email to support@myresolvent.com. We'll reinforce that as well as we go through. Why student debt matter? Well, you hear a lot about it. There's an awful lot of people with student debt. We estimate 43, maybe more, 44 million people, $1.7 trillion of debt. Those are big numbers and are hard to get your head around, but there's government programs available to reduce student debt that most people don't know how to take advantage of. There are programs called, generally speaking, called income driven programs, where the amount of your payments or the amount of your clients' payments are indexed to their available income. And the government's deal, in a sort of a simplistic way of putting it, is, we're going to set these payments to a point that you can afford it. So at least you'll pay something instead of paying nothing. For your clients, that reduces their debt to income problems, and therefore may enable them to either get a mortgage in the first place or get a better deal. And I'm sure you appreciate the importance of that. Melissa's going to touch on a little bit of that in a moment. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is this fourth bullet. We don't charge anyone anything up front. There's no credit card up front. There's no promise to payment. People can use the program, create an account that doesn't obligate them to anything, and they can go all the way through to get what we call a benefits page. We show them, we found a program that allows you to reduce your monthly payments to X, your total payments to Y. It takes this many months to complete. And if there's any forgiveness amount, we summarize, you may get tens of thousands of dollars forgiven, which is, again, part of these programs. We never tell someone a program they're not eligible for. And the other thing that's important then is that there's zero risk to your clients going through the program and getting to the benefits page. If they don't like the benefits they see, they don't pay anything. If they do like the benefits they see and they say, wow, that could really help my debt situation, there's a small charge, $99, and we then guide them through selecting the right plan, finding out the right documents. We help them fill out the forms. And when I say we, our software is doing all of this. That's why it's really powerful, because they can help themselves. We help them fill out the forms. We give them the instructions on what to do. Basically, how do I take that plan that looks great and make it a reality? So these are some challenges, and because Melissa deals with clients on a regular basis, I'm going to hand off to Melissa and let her describe this, because I think as an expert counselor, she sees these problems, and by Melissa describing this, you can imagine that that's what your clients are dealing with as well. So Melissa, how about if I hand off to you and you go
Yeah,
through a
thank
couple of
you.
these?
Yeah, no problem. So, hi, I'm Melissa McGuire. Just a little bit more on my background. I've worked in a nonprofit for over 11 years now. I'm a certified credit counselor, certified student loan specialist, and work with the Student Debt Solutions platform to guide the expertise that's really running in the background here. So, we deal with clients every single day. So we're seeing a lot coming out on what borrowers are dealing with right now. And just this is just to really strengthen why student debt solutions as a tool could be very powerful and helpful for these consumers. So the borrowers are having long wait times. So essentially during the pandemic for 3.5 years, student loan servicers were really, it's a business, right? So they're contracted by the Department of Ed, but if they are not answering calls because people don't have to pay, they're letting go of their employees that are working there. And so because things kind of happened, you would think it's been 3.5 years, but we moved swiftly into repayment. We had a few months to gear up, and the same goes for the servicer. And that's not an excuse for them, but average wait times went from 12 minutes to 70 minutes. Lots of calls are being dropped. So consumers are not getting the help that they need. And I could go on and on about what was happening even before the pandemic when you were getting through the servicer. There's really no guarantee you're getting the right kind of guidance. Okay. So those representatives, they may be entry level or they're just starting to train. And student loans are challenging and complex. So we really pride ourselves that we go through National Consumer Law Center. We look towards the highest advocates and attorneys that really work in this space. And we use the statutory regulations to really guide these options for the borrowers. Now, it sounds complicated, but again, we're going to show you we've made it simple for the everyday, consumer to use. There's also high delays right now. So with every federal solution, and we are talking about federal student loan debt here. So with every payment plan you want to apply for or program you want to apply for, there's a document that has to be included. And so those applications, that document's filled out and it's submitted as an application over to the servicer, who then will coordinate on some of them with the Department of Ed to verify and to approve. There's a massive delay right now in getting anyone approved for applications. Mainly, we're looking at consolidation and just your basic income plans because you have to be in those. We're also dealing with highly inaccurate billing statements. And so that can be super confusing because you're told your payment starts in November. I've dealt with a ton of consumers right now that they were like, well, I got a statement that said my payment was due in October, and then it changed to January. But then now I'm a late notice saying I didn't make my payment. So there's just been so many inaccuracies about when your payment's due. And on top of that, about how much is due. And so we want to overcome that and try to give peace of mind to consumers via, we're trying to get the word out there about our tool and to have these individuals take advantage of it so that they can have peace of mind. And go to the next slide there, Dave. I just wanted to add in here just a little about student loans and counseling, or in housing. I have worked in the space of helping first-time home buyers with their student loans for several years. And so one of the things that we always say is, mortgage debt is the highest debt that a consumer faces out there. Second is student loans. Then that's followed up with like credit card debt. But that's why student loans are so important. And then that's why it is a challenge for that debt to income ratio. We have lots of individuals that are trying to purchase homes that are saying, until I have my student loan settled, I can't even think about buying a home right now. Because they can't save for a down payment. That's a big one. Maybe they've prioritized that, I want to pay down my student loan debt first over that home buying purchase. Because a lot of people think, well, if all of this is on there, I'm just going to have no luck, right? Or my buying power is going to be decreased because I've got $78,000 of student loan debt. That's not going to look good. And that's not the case. The debt to income ratio, we know that's a problem, and also impacts to the credit score if you've missed payments, if you've gone into default. And there's plenty of programs out there that we can help individuals essentially kind of repair that credit, get the defaults taken care of, and get them back into a good place. Outside of that, also, when we work with a consumer, we really want them to guide us. We can always recommend them. If I say, well, you're buying a home, so we need to get you into the lowest payment possible. That may not always be the case. It's always balancing the problem of lowering that payment or paying down the loan balance of that student loan as quick as possible. So and in our tool, you'll kind of see, we gauge that goal for the individual to kind of guide what these monthly payment plans are. With student loans, there's over 9 to 10 different monthly repayment plans on how you can repay the student loan debt, coupled with the fact that they could choose to consolidate or even refinance those loans. And so we're doubling and sometimes tripling the amount of possibilities. And that's on the most simplistic cases. on how we want to look at these monthly repayment plans and organize them for these consumers. So that's a lot, but again, the tool's going to do that in a really nice way. I'm sure we all know this, you guys are brokers, but we want to look at, and I always put this in my classes so that our consumers know, essentially how the student loan is going to affect that debt to income ratio. And depending on the type of loan you get, conventional versus FHA, we need to make different decisions on what that payment's going to be for them. So we want to identify those best possible payments. We do include, again, default resolution and every single option. So we really peel those layers back, and I don't want to get too overcomplicated for you guys. Just love to jump in, and we're going to show you here in a moment. But we're going to look for default, cancellation programs, student loan forgiveness opportunities that may fall into based off the occupation of the borrower. We're going to look at monthly repayment plans, and then those postponement options that could be available. It gets even more complicated when we add different types of federal loans. And believe me, Student Debt Solution is going to take care of addressing every single kind of loan and organizing that plan for the individual in the best way. So, Dave, I think the next slide here is me jumping into a demo. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen.
Stop mine.
Thank you.
Let you go. So as Melissa's setting up, I just want to reinforce a couple of points here. About 90% of the student debt that's out there is federal student debt. And it's very important if you're talking to your clients, refinancing should not be their first course. If they refinance a federal loan into a private loan, they can never take advantage of these programs again. So it's really important, we think, to send them to an application like SDS, let them self-service, find out what their options are without having to pay anything. And again, they're only paying a small amount of money if they really want to proceed and take advantage of the program. So Melissa, I'll hand back to you, and Melissa can show you then our what we call our borrower portal. This is what your clients would see when they click on a link that I'm going to share at the end of the demonstration.
Yeah, so there's a few ways that you can access or send a client to access the help, right, from our tool. And again, Dave's going to share those, right? We may see that, we're going to see that in HomePrep, but we've got a couple of places to send you if you have clients today that want to go. And they're going to see a landing page so they can find out some information on it themselves. And so this is just an example of that landing page. They're going to have lots of ways to get started. They can see what our process is and what's included in the product. They'll see pricing that could be associated with the options that they're receiving, how it works, and a little bit about us, FAQs, and then information on how to contact us if they need help. So to get started, they will create an account. But I've already done that for the purpose of today's demonstration, so just give me a moment. But they do with the account creation, it's very typical. Name, email, set up a password. They're going to get sent a validation just to validate who they are. They click the link, and they're right here to go ahead and log in. And so I've got our user today. Let me give you a little backstory on the case we'll walk through today. So this is a client and a student loan borrower. And he recently got married. They're expecting a baby, and they also want to purchase a new home. This individual is in pharmacy. He's a pharmacist. So he's in healthcare, and we'll kind of walk through this, and I'll show you what I like to do is create a little story here for you.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
So again, as Melissa's showing this, you would give a link to your clients, and then your clients would click here and go on by themselves.
Yep. So they're going to log in, and again, keeping it simple. On the left-hand side, we're going to see the progress tracker. They know the steps they're going to take, and they're going to walk through that. We have a nice welcome video they can choose to watch, just explaining the process that they're about to go through and the advantages of the program. And we also have a how to prepare, so just to get them ready. And this is really important. We want them to sit down and be prepared for 10 to 15 minutes. This isn't, let me just take 2-3 minutes, and we want them to have the time. Okay. Student loans is like filing your taxes. Okay. The rules and the regulations that are surrounding student loan repayment are just as complex. Okay. So we really want them to take it seriously and set aside that time. And also have their login information ready. This is over at studentaid.gov. This is how we're going to grab that student loan information from them. And so we give them some information on how to prepare for that, what they'll need. They need to estimate their current income. We'll help them with that. They go through a questionnaire, and then they are able to see their plans, build that plan, and then take action. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our profile, we don't ask for a ton. We'll go ahead and have our Brokers and Bagels client today fill in his state of residence, which we'll say is Florida. And then we like them to put in a phone number. And this allows us to contact them if there's any technical issues, help and support. They have questions. Now, for their annual income, so we've got our client, he's making about $120,000 a year, and his spouse is making $50,000. They do currently married filing separately. That was on their last taxes. And then their family size, we tell an individual, we try to help them, as you can see, how do they go about estimating their family size. So for them, it is 3. Then the next step is for the client to define their payment goals. And so they can pick, I want the lowest monthly payment. I want the highest, I want a balance. I want the lowest total paid. So just whatever they're feeling. And a lot of individuals, especially going into that home buying process, are probably going to want to be looking for that lowest monthly payment.
How to get student loan file from studentaid.gov.
So this is a really important video. This shows the consumer how they're going to access that student loan information over at studentaid.gov. And so the borrower can watch that. We also let them play that video again. But essentially, they're going to click to add their student loans, and we have it all written out for them. If they don't have a login, they can click to create a login over at studentaid.gov. If they've forgotten their username, we prompt them to the area to go for help on that, or their password. But what we want them to do is open up the Student Aid login window where they're going to log in. Then they come back and select the download file button, and then they'll upload that file here. We do also analyze private student loans. So there's lots of private lenders that are out there. We know in generality what those options can be for private lenders. And so we do our best to define a path, not only for federal loans, but private loans. But private loans really make up about 8% of the student loan debt that's out there. But interesting fact, if you do have a private loan, you're probably strapped with about an average of $50,000 of private student loan debt is what we're finding. So it is important that we do include it in their overall plan. This individual does not have private student loan debt, so we'll go ahead and select no. We give a nice summary, just trying to explain to this person, hey, we see that your next scheduled payment is X. Your current payment plan is the standard repayment plan. And they can see the loans that they've now included. But now that we've included those loans, this is time for us to generate the questionnaire. The questionnaire is dynamic. We are asking unique questions based off of this client's personal situation. And it's going to continue to respond to how this client answers the questionnaire. So we'll see that in action here. And so we don't number the questions. We do have this lovely progress bar here. And this individual, remember, is employed. They're working in pharmaceuticals. And so as we go to answer those questions, occupation is important, is very important in the student loan aspect of things. So we'll say I'm employed full-time and I work in healthcare. And the degrees that I've earned were my high school, my bachelor's, and a professional license or certificate. Have I ever filed for bankruptcy? I'll select no, I have not. And I believe I can I dispute my student loans because of the balance owed or issues with the school? I'll go ahead and say no to that. Is my job in healthcare a nonprofit sector with a not-for-profit or a registered 501c3? I'm going to say yes, it is. And is your job in healthcare one of the following? And we select none of the above. Your current occupation may be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Enter in months how long you've worked. This individual just recently started working, so we'll select 6. And if I have not already met the 120 months, because I did enter 6, which is less than 120, would I consider still working in the eligible occupation for at least 10 years? I'm going to say yes to that. And what we're going to do at the end of the questionnaire is give them a review so they can see exactly the responses that they've put in so far. If they need to edit anything, this is a good stopping point for the individual to review. So next, the client's going to be presented with a benefits analysis. What we do here is show them the monthly payment that they're currently paying, what could be their lowest payment that we're finding. That is, they indicated they wanted the lowest payment, so we want to feature that at this moment for the client. And then their monthly savings. We have some other federal programs, and it looks like the forgiveness program is available. And we estimated that forgiveness at around $132,000. The cancellation programs are not available. So we're using this for the clients to really see, is there an option available that for me? And if I don't want to proceed, I can leave at this time. All right. So if they do want to proceed, we're telling them what the payment is, and they can go ahead and choose to proceed. We do provide unlimited annual access with the product, and essentially we're just reinforcing again what they're getting with that. So they're going to get the documents, tools. They can continue to come back and revise those changes and look at it over the year to see if they want to continue on in that plan. With everything,
Melissa,
as Dave, yes?
Melissa, I'm sorry, but you can just hold on one second. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to reference something called a promo code. Pam has arranged for anybody that's in the webinar to have a 50% discount on this $99 through the end of the month of January. So if somebody's interested in trying it, you've got a client, you would basically enter this promo code. It's going to be called HomePrep. I'll give you more information at the end, but I just wanted to pause here to let you know that this is where you would enter the promo code, and you would see $99 turn into $49.50, and that would be the amount of payment.
Great. Yeah,
thanks,
that's
Melissa.
really great. Of course. Yeah. So yes, this is where after they review that benefit analysis, if they proceed, then they're entered, then they're prompted to input that promo code. So if we enter that, it does the reduction here. They see the new price and then can select the to pay by card, or they can use PayPal as well. So I'm going to enter my lovely card, and we're going to make a payment to proceed.
It's our favorite card. It always works in demos.
So now that payment's going to process, I'll get a payment successful message, and then I can move over to start looking at how can I build this plan. And again, just reinforcing, we're trying to be full scope, looking at default, cancellation. Here at our monthly repayment options, it does look like my best solutions with the lowest monthly payment come to be a consolidated save, which is formerly the revised pay-as-you-earn plan. This is a newer plan. We give some description on what does that mean, because this plan also includes a public service loan forgiveness. So they can see now a little bit more in-depth details that highlights kind of what we showed them on that benefit analysis. So they can do the 538, it's 533, and there's a total repaid and a term that they'll have to pay this over. We're going to show them everything, okay? So there's a lot of different options that could be considered here for this individual. They could not consolidate. They're going to lose a little bit on total repaid and forgiveness if they don't choose to consolidate, which is why we're recommending that. They can also see more options, but really where we want to draw their attention to is, hey, you also didn't consider, and there may be different options here. This is what would have been the lowest total paid, or this is what was the balanced solution. And for many borrowers, these are a lot different. But because we threw this public service loan forgiveness program in here, we're going to see the same option. And that's just reinforcing to the borrower, pick that recommended. This looks really full scope. It's the best for you. They can dig in and view, other various consolidated or non-consolidated different repayment plans if they would choose to do that. So at this point, we're going to hit select and we'll continue forward. And it's here that we're going to take our next steps, right? So what do I do now? You're going to complete your forms. You're going to sign those forms and you're going to send them to your loan servicer at the dashboard. So when we hit complete my plan, I'm taken to this dashboard. It's really what we like to envision as like an action center. This is where you're going to get, the steps on how you take advantage of this plan. So this is a checklist. We tell them where they're going to get their documents or where they need to go to prepare those documents. They've got the public service loan forgiveness, so we're giving a lot of in-depth information on that. At this point, too, the consumer has been emailed what we call the action plan. So they can access that on their dashboard, but they've also received it via email. And this is just an overview of every single plan that they've included inside of their overall strategy. They can see their payment schedules, their loans. There's important tips in here. They have links directly to the forms as well. And again, that checklist. So they're going to see a recap of what their current situation is versus the new selected plan. We give them links on how to revisit the dashboard to see, here's a tool for this, link here, and where can they go to take their next steps. So if they want to do a counseling session or prepare their documents, those are all in here. So if they've received that in the email and they want to read through this, we're kind of directing them back to the dashboard and where they need to go to visit. So at this time, again, they're going to have all of their documents stored here. They can go back and make changes at any point. So it's not a one-time thing. They're not going to have to pay again. So they can go back and say, you know what about, I saw something else back there. Let me go revisit those plans again. So they can select here. They can jump and go look back at the plans. They can change their income. Maybe they use this and then they went to work the next day and they got a promotion and they're like, well, how does this change things for my student loans? You never know. And so this make changes is there for the individuals to utilize. Down here, we do have just a summary again of the payments. They can view their loans, but here we do have tools for them in the form of calculators. So we've chosen an income driven repayment plan. They can change that income growth, and we assume 5%. So if we want to look over a long-term projection of this loan payment, we see that eventually it's going to increase to 557. Maybe next year it goes to 593. We're assuming income growth. But if I say, you know what, maybe I'll get 2%. This is going to change the amount of forgiveness I may receive over my loan. See, that grew. And it's also going to change how my loan may change, right? When I do my annual recertification, income plans have annual recertifications. My loan actually goes down because my income is not keeping up with the inflation. So my plan amount actually will go down next year if my income is not growing and I'm at a certain rate. So that's in here for the individuals to see. They can view by year, gives it a more simplified view. They can view by month. And so that's a really good tool. If they have plans that are income-based, then we have a little bit of a different view of an amortization schedule. They can go in there and make extra payments, lump sum payments. They can see how they can begin to maybe start tackling that debt to pay it down. given different strategies. So one of the best tools, right? So again, you need to complete your forms, you have to sign them, and you need to send them. So the next thing that we want them to do is to do the document preparation. And so we'll go ahead and I'm going to show you this tool that consumers can use to prepare these forms automatically. Again, we've given them all the links, they can download everything. But
And
we also have this really nice interface where we'll present them in an organized method of answering the questions that then populate to these forms that exist. Between these two forms, it's actually a combined of about 4 different documents that all need to be done that are probably about 30 pages long. And so we're filling as much as we can. The consumer is going to go here and complete the rest. And whatever they fill in, it's going to be transferred over to those forms. So just to give you an idea of what we're
yeah,
asking.
yeah. Imagine if you had to fill out tax forms without TurboTax. I mean, that's the difference here. And Melissa has told me that often the reason why plans are delayed or not approved is because somebody didn't fill out the forms correctly. So
That's
this
absolutely
helps
correct.
them make sure that it's done correctly and accurately, especially when you're transferring all the loan numbers and values. You avoid any kind of typos in there.
Yeah, so again,
I also want to mention, I'm sorry, Melissa, I just wanted to also mention that in the link we're going to show you, there won't be any charge for the doc prep. It's included as part of the $99.
yes. And so here we've got our completed forms, and for your clients, either via HomePrep or through Pam, they get the document preparation tool at no charge. But whatever they filled into the survey is going to show here, but there's a lot that we've done to complete these forms for them. And so we're, like Dave mentioned, we're getting all of this loan information, which is super important, that has to be included. And then what the consumers now do is they will, now that they can download from there, but they can also come back here. They have now the documents stored. They can download all of them. And then from their dashboard, we do include all of the information on where they send these. And they get choices under some of them. So choose one of the following, but your PSL application has to go here. And so that's for them for the submission. We are able to connect your clients to experts as well. So that's the last piece I'll talk about here. They can schedule consultations. Dave, please refresh my memory. I believe the fee that's being
99.
promoted is a little bit different too as well
Yeah.
for your clients.
Yeah.
And so that's going to
Right. There is a fee to talk to an expert counselor like Melissa, but that would be 99. It's reduced from our typical list price. So the
Yep.
pricing for anybody at the webinar or any of the home prep clients or the clients to homeowners brokers would be 99 for the analysis and the doc prep, and then another 99 if you need to talk to an expert. However, as valuable as that is, we see less than 5% of people who want to talk to an expert. They're pretty much able to take care of everything they need just with the software.
Absolutely. So yes, we're offering that at 99. We connect 2 certified credit counselors in the profit industry. And we're just able to, we use Calendly. So it's super easy. They can pick a date and time. They get control over rescheduling or scheduling. So this is all great. So they can schedule that. We love Calendly. And it seems like it's grown in popularity over the last few years. So they've now scheduled an appointment. They're getting reminders. They're probably getting text updates at this point. They're going to join for that appointment if they want to. And again, for your clients, it's 99. And then the doc prep and the analysis of this product. So for your client to be able to build that plan and prepare all of their documents utilizing our tools, it's $99 with that promo code HomePrep. You're going to get a discount on top of that for the 50% off. Dave, I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to you to finish out the presentation.
So there will be some questions here at the end, but let me summarize with a last couple of slides, because one of the things that Melissa and I wanted to help you understand was, number one, how easy the program is to use. And hopefully you've seen that, we want to make sure that people have, 10 to 15 minutes, but it is relatively quick. And I think Daniel has even gone through this and it was quicker than that. So, we'll get a chance to ask some questions and maybe fill in some anecdotes. So, we do want people to take some time and really sit down and have their stuff ready. That federal loan file that Melissa referenced is really, really, it's a little bit like a credit report, but it doesn't come from the credit bureaus. This comes from the federal government. And it actually, the Department of Ed has a complete history of all of your loans, when they were given, how much the original balance was, all of your payments, when you went in and out of forbearance or delays or whatever. So it's a very rich history, and we use that to shorten the time for all the data gathering. We learn a lot from that. So that's an important file to be getting. Here's a slide that we wanted to share with you. Melissa gave an example of a very high number because this person had like $150,000 in income. They also saved $1,000 maybe a month. Those really are not as much of an exception as you would think. But we recently, in the fourth quarter, went through some analysis of our clients, and what we learned was that on average, the people that go through SDS start off with about, this is on average, we went through and looked at some data from about 1,000 people in the fourth quarter. And the average person came in with a monthly payment of about $489. Through the programs we were able to identify, and again, we didn't do anything magic. These programs exist. These are legitimate programs. What we did was make it easy for them to find the lower payments. We were able to help them, on average, save $330 a month. And about 24% of the people that were in that analysis ended up with $0 payments. That might seem illogical, but it's actually true. It happens because these income-driven programs that the government offers essentially says, look, if your income is low or if you're unemployed, but if your income is low, a 10% of your discretionary income might actually be zero. You may not have any discretionary income. And why is that important? Well, that means they're making their quote unquote payments and they're working towards the eligibility, because a lot of these programs have, at the end of the term, any remaining balances forgiven. So staying on that plan, even if the payment is $0, means they're working towards a significant forgiveness at the end of that. So $0 payments monthly are not unusual. The other thing I thought was a little bit surprising, the average person we saw was almost $95,000 of student loan debt, and we were able to save about 55% of that through better programs, better reductions, forgiveness at the end of the term, et cetera. And out of Melissa mentioned, or we mentioned at the beginning, about 44 million people with student loan debt. There's only been about 8 million of them who have taken advantage of these income-driven programs. The majority of people who are out there can take advantage of income-driven programs that are offered by the federal government. It's not refinance, it's lowering their payments, offering forgiveness, and it can really contribute to an improved debt-to-income ratio, which I know you all appreciate as the importance that it is. We were able to find forgiveness for a little over half of the people that we talked to, or that we worked with, and we identified loan cancellations. And that would be something like, I went to a school that closed, or there was a lawsuit against that school, or they said that if I got such and such a degree, I would guaranteed be able to get such and such a job. But then when I went and tried to get it, that promise proved to be not true. So there's a handful. They're not as common, but it's out there. We look for those cancellations. And if they just go to the studentaid.gov site themselves, they may find their way into a repayment program. not going to be as easy, and nobody's going to be looking for cancellation options for them. So we really think we're pretty unique in that area to try to find any way to reduce that debt. The last bit of information I wanted to share with you is what we've arranged, what Pam's arranged for the attendees of the webinar. So you'll hear more about in the coming weeks about the HomePrep software. And in that HomePrep software, there'll be a button that says, refer my client to Student Debt Solutions. And that's how you would get your client started. And then everything that we're talking about here would happen. They wouldn't go to a link. They would basically get an email to log in. But right now, if you've got some clients that you think can take advantage of this today, or at any time, frankly, have your client go to start.myresolvent.com/C2H. That's the link, and they'll go, just like Melissa showed, to that homepage and start. This link is on the Clients to Homeowners website, and HomePrep software will have a click the button. They won't go to this link. They'll just be automatically in there. But either way, you get to the software. So with that, I'll wrap up. Again, you'll see this, you'll see these slides when we hand it out. And if you wanted to see another a video recording of the demo, you would click here on this link and you'll be able to get a video recording. And I think Pam and Daniel were recording this webinar as well, so you can review this and revisit this webinar. So I think I'll stop at that point and hand back to you, Daniel, and say thank you all for your time and attention, and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, I want to take a couple minutes real quick and show you guys, if you see my screen here, this is the client to homeowner site. To recap everything that Dave and Melissa talked about today, that we have this already up. Pam has already put a lot of content on here. It's under the brokers and bagels. This recording will be up there. On the right-hand side, a little recap video. Welcome to Student Debt Solutions, the promo, the video that you saw Melissa started to play about how to log into your student loan gov, some FAQs, some guidelines for student loans regarding Freddie and Fannie, FHA, VA. They're all different, right? So knowing what student loans and how they affect your loans is really, really key. I will say this again, like I said in the beginning, loan originator hat on. I personally did this, like Dave mentioned, that I went through their software, forgot my password on studentloan.gov, and still had the whole thing done in like 8 minutes and got my plans to spit out to me. So it is very, very quick. And one of the other things I want to share with you is use this tool not only for your clients, but as conversation starters. And I'm going to give you a quick example that just happened to me yesterday. I house my office with financial advisors. There's 8 of them in here. And I was sitting down with one of the ladies and I said, hey, do you run into people, they're talking about people budget, how do they save money? One of the big things they face is student loans as well. If somebody's looking to invest more or life insurance or plan to buy a home, student loans could get in the way. The minute I showed her this program and said, hey, this is something you might be able to use for your clients, but it's also a conversation starter for me to say, hey, I have a resource available to me to help your clients to save, as you just saw Melissa's example, $1,000 a month. That's a lot of money, especially if they need life insurance or investment products or start their kids' college plan. Whatever the case is, it's a tool not just for us and our clients, it's a conversation starter. And I just wanted to share that with you because it literally was that aha moment as I was sitting down talking to her. And they're always looking for ways to free up money. So if you work with financial advisors or you don't, hey, I can help your clients save money. Here's one outlet that I have. So again, more content will be added to this page. This recording will be up there. It's under the brokers or bagels, student loan repayment. There's also other stuff under here. What's HomePrep? As Dave mentioned, you're going to hear more from HomePrep down the road, but they will be integrated. I will say use this program right now. Use it for your clients. Test out because this can get somebody off the fence at the moment. So again, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Melissa. Great presentation. A lot of information. A tool that I think we've been needing for a long time, and it's simple. So thank you. I think we have a Q&A. Justin has asked, any marketing material to send out?
Right, and I was going to respond. Not only did you just outline a lot that's available on the clients to homeowners website, you can also go to our website, which is called myresolvent.com, and get some information there as well. And you can feel free to send an email to, or Pam can share my email. We also have an email of support@myresolvent.com. And that email is an easy way for anyone, including anyone you run into who wants to know more information about the program. But again, what we see this in nonprofit counselors, in any place where there's debt to income issues like housing. There's a lot of interest there currently because this has all kind of come back on us. And you mentioned, Daniel, correctly, financial planners, same situation. The short story is, and it's probably master of the obvious here, but student loans get in the way of people living their life and consuming what they may want to consume. So we're trying to help make this inexpensive and easy to see if you can get some help. And there are some great government programs that that will help reduce that debt. The government's deal is basically, we'd rather get you into a program where you can pay something instead of pay nothing and ruin your credit and ruin your, just face all kinds of difficulties. So good programs, and we're hopefully making it easy for you and your clients to take advantage of. So Pam and Daniel, we do appreciate the opportunity, and please feel free to reach out to either of us. Again, support@myresolvent.com gets to both Melissa and I, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Perfect.
I'd like to ask, oh, go ahead, Daniel.
I just wanted to answer if Justin's any marketing material to send out, Dave.
Well, the ones that we would send out are frankly the things that that Pam has already linked to. So, I mean, I think we're going to send out this slide deck, a recording of this webinar, and then we typically send out information like a slide deck like this. Also, we do have a 2-page sheet, summary sheet. I could make that available to Pam as well to post it. I think the easiest thing for this audience may be, we'll make sure that Pam has links to everything. She has pretty much everything now. And then I would go there to get more help. And you're always welcome to reach out to us at support if you have a reason to have a personal conversation or a personal demo for some reason, we're happy to help you.
Thanks, Dave and Melissa. And just a couple other things. You had said that you could change or revise this program through a full 12-month period of time. Why would somebody revise it?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Melissa touched on some in her discussion, but some of the most common ones are either changes in your life or your client's life, that is. Change in family size, change in marital status, change in income. Those can enable or frankly change a program that you used to be eligible for. So checking back on that to see if your life situation changes, to see if your program eligibility changes, and it could change for the better. The other thing is that as may be obvious, there's a lot of activity in the federal government, and that means there's programs that are changing, evolving. A lot of times things get announced to the press as though they exist, but they don't exist yet. They have to go through Congress or through some sort of legislative action. So if new programs come up next week, next month, or next November, we think it's important to be able to come back and see if those new programs enable you to save more money. Our job is to stay on top of this, and luckily the program that's been built allows us to, I don't want to dramatize it, but almost instantaneously. We don't have to like rebuild and recompile our software to change rules about how the programs work. If the government changes the rules, Melissa makes configuration changes that make the software behave differently. So we can react quickly to changes. And we just think it's helpful for people to feel like, hey, this is something I can check back on, because as you saw from Melissa's demo, once you get into a program, this is a program that will last years. And so things may change. And we
Yeah,
want to make sure that people
we
have the
announce
ability.
that though too to the client. So if there's something big that changes in July, or if we're announcing things, we're letting the clients know, hey, you may want to come back and see if this is applicable to you.
Yeah.
There,
I-
one other thing I was wondering too. I know that we're, as mortgage professionals, looking for the lowest payment to have them qualify for the most house they can get. But let's say they want to escalate their payment. Can they do that? Is that what the other end of that, the
The
ball along
slider
the
bar?
line goes to?
Yeah.
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 So maybe after they bought the home, they can go
Yeah.
back and say, well, now I'm ready to focus on
Well,
paying it off.
yeah, and that's actually part of it. That's some people want to figure out, how do I pay off my loan as fast as possible? Most people are looking for the lowest monthly payment. But some of the tools that Melissa showed, which are really on the dashboard where you're doing some financial planning tools, those aren't required to apply for a program, but they're tools that are there for clients to use to estimate their what is this going to turn into by next year this time? What do my payments look like? There's tools in there to allow them to estimate what would be the impact of if I made a lump sum payment, or what if I paid an additional amount once a year because I assume I'm going to get some money back on taxes. How does that affect my payments and my forgiveness over time? So that's why some of those tools are in there, is to help people estimate the impact of the plan on their personal financials.
So they have that ability to look at that difference over a 12-month period of time.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
then
the biggest factor that Melissa already touched on was, the government assumes an income growth of 5%, and so we start off there. But I think we can imagine that that might be an aggressively high number for the average person. So maybe you can't assume, and if somebody has a smaller growth year over year, they're going to see a different amount of payments, and more likely a bigger forgiveness, because the balance remaining at the end of the term of the loan or the payments will be bigger. So they'll end up with more forgiveness.
okay. And I noticed that along the entire process, there is no reason to stop. You give, if they can't get through to studentaid.gov, they can pull a credit report through your system.
Mhm.
And at every piece, if you answer that you do have some private student loans, there's even an option there. So it is incredibly fluid all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it should also be noted, Pam, thank you for that, because we do pride ourselves in trying to be easy and smooth to go through. But I would also comment that if somebody has to leave for some reason, if they log back in, they'll pick up right where they left off. And it's also true if they go all the way to the end and they say, well, wait a minute, I should have answered my income this way instead of that way. Or, hey, what would happen if I filed married filing single? What would that do? And that might give them the ability to almost be an estimate tool. Like, well, next year when I file my taxes, let me file this way because that has this kind of impact on my loans. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody's going to be doing some sophisticated analysis like that, but the tool makes it possible. We also send reminders out. The program will automatically send a note out to people to say, hey, where did you go? If they leave and didn't come back for a couple of days, we'll send them an email to remind them, hey, love to have you come back. Click here to log in. Maybe they forgot how to log back in. So we want to try to make it easy for people to get through smoothly. And if they don't, when they come back, to pick up right where they left off.
Hey, Dave, we have a question from Tammy asking, does this extend their term? Is that how the reduction is accomplished?
I'm going to defer to Melissa because it's not a one size fits all answer.
Yeah, no. So it can be. We always want to make sure that the individual understands the implications of the plans that are there. That's why we list out every single option that we're finding. We do hide it to make it easy, but we're showing them again what's the balanced, which means low term, could be low term. It's it's the best of both worlds. This is a middle payment and not the greatest paid over time. We know that extending the term can increase the amount by which the individual pays, but for income-driven repayment plans, that's not always the case. That's what we're talking about here, though, is lowering a payment through an income-driven repayment plan. There's a term forgiveness that's associated with that. If they include that with occupational forgiveness, it's even less of a term. So it really just depends. It just is, there's many ways to achieve a lower payment.
Right.
It doesn't have to
But-
be just extending the term.
Right. Yeah, but to your question, it's not extending the term isn't a technique to achieve forgiveness, but it is, different programs have different term lengths.
I have a quick question. Does the plan get changed if, I can see, Melissa, during your demo, there was like 3 or 4 different servicers of these student loans. I've seen student loans switch from Navient to Nelnet or to Advent. Like, does that change because they're all federal programs? They're federal programs. These servicers have to adhere to it. Is that true?
Right. So that's correct. Yeah. So the Department of Education is the lender and the overseer, and really the one that determines what the payments are. The servicers are contracted to oversee payment processing, and that's their job. So they collect the payment, but they cannot give approval to any programs. They collect your application and then they collect your payment, and that goes through an approval process that's overseen by the department.
Okay. So even if they change servicers, the plan stays
It
intact.
should always stay the same, but you have to be careful, changing servicers, download your payment history, always, keep a file up to date. Some of my best clients are ones that have like an Excel file that shows like, these are the payments that I've made, and these are the balance, and and how that affected their balance. Because when it changes hands, it can get a little messy, You guys know that. You're in the you've seen the changing of mortgages from one place to another. You might lose documents. It happens in this
Like
industry as
escrow
well.
account doesn't transfer over or something crazy
Right.
happens. So yes, but we're here at 12 o'clock. I appreciate your guys' time today. For the people on the call, go check out the websites. All this information will be posted on Clients to Homeowners on SDS. This will get sent out. Pam will send this stuff out. If you guys have any questions, reach out to Dave and Melissa. They're great. Keep an eye on this. One last question Tammy has in. I have a client with all private loans. Do any of them get forgiven on the private sector?
Only in death or disability. Is there a potential for like cancellation of the student loan debt?
Yeah. So one of the things that we also have at the last page is for anyone that has either some of their loans are private or frankly all of their loans are private, they have a couple of options. One of those is to refinance. There aren't a government program for it, but we have a what we call a little widget that links that your clients would click on, and that would expose them to essentially a marketplace of refinance offers to see if there's a way to help them that way.
Perfect.
Yeah, that is awesome. This is probably one of the most well-organized programs that can help our clients I've ever seen.
And it's super
Well, thank
simple.
you for that. Thank you for that, Pam, and we appreciate the opportunity and your kind words, and Daniel, yours as well. And we appreciate the opportunity, and we'll continue to make the program as easy as we can, make it smoother. We're working on making it better all the time, and so stay tuned. I'm sure you'll hear more from us.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And thank you everybody else for getting on the call. And Pam, thanks for putting together, and we'll see you next month for New Brokers and Bagels.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.